Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and I'm here with my partner, Dave Michels again. How are things going, Dave?
I'm doing grand. I'm getting all recuperated, ready for some serious travel.
Absolutely. And we're just an on the road again episode for us. It's Labor Day weekend, 3-day weekend here in the US, and it was a bank holiday in the UK last weekend, and in Europe. So we kind of wanted to touch base and figure out where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing. There's a lot of travel for both of us in September through to the end of the year. I think some of it's really interesting. So why don't we get started? I'm going to spend Labor Day weekend, at least the second half of Labor Day weekend. The first half I'm going to spend cleaning my house, but the second half of Labor Day weekend I'm going to spend in Las Vegas, on my way to the CEDIA conference in Denver. And what I'm really looking forward to in Las Vegas is
I just want to
Sphere.
point out, David, that Las Vegas is not on the way to Denver. Just want to be clear about that for people trying to follow along geographically.
That's true. It's not on the way, but it's on my way. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing the Wizard of Oz presentation that they're doing at the Sphere. I'm going to
I've
see.
seen Wizard of Oz. I've seen it before. Is there a new version or something? What's this
Yeah,
about?
we've been talking about it for a while. It's been all over the news the last couple of weeks. What they've done is they've worked with Google's DeepMind to take what was originally a very small film print and make it big enough for their immersive screen. And they've used AI to extrapolate what might have been in the frame. So while you see the picture of Dorothy on the yellow brick road, when they make it that big, the rest of the yellow brick road had to be filled in. It's kind of like what Photoshop can do for you on a much grander scale. Now, it's interesting for a couple of reasons. It's interesting for our audience for a couple of reasons. One, I'm not a fan of the Sphere. I'm on record. We have a blog on our website. The Sphere is a very poor experience internally. It's like almost wants to be a Disney ride with sense around, but it doesn't really achieve it. Outside, it's beautiful. At night, it lights
Yeah,
up the city. Inside,
yeah. Outside, it's amazing. You can't wait to see what's inside, and inside it's like, outside is better.
yeah, inside, I've seen it better, and I don't really need to spend $30 sodas or any of the other thing that the Dolan family does. But this is kind of groundbreaking for our industry and all the other industries in that if we can take existing content, no cost to produce, apply AI to it, put it in a venue, and now all of a sudden we can start selling tickets. My tickets are about $130 each to see a movie that's I don't know, 70, 80, 90 years old that I've seen before, but they've made it an experience. Now, instead of just seats that rumble on a science fiction film, again, I'm predicting because I've seen from the clips, when the tornado lifts her house up, I think we experienced the tornado with leaves blowing in the room and flying monkeys. And if they can do that, not only is it a proof point for making money with AI, which we've been looking for a really long time, but this is a proof point of how we can take a lot of content that's in the can over the last 100 years and make them new immersive experiences. So I'm going to see like
Well,
the
of
fourth
course,
or
David, I
fifth.
just want to point out it's a proof point regardless of whether you actually go or not and pay the tickets. So I might just observe this proof point and maybe write about it. But of course, you've got some, you're gonna write it off with your taxes. So that's okay. Go ahead and
Oh, I
enjoy the
never
show.
thought of that. I
Uh,
guess I can
uh,
write the whole trip off on my taxes. That's actually
I,
really
I
true.
I think that I would probably want to go if they were doing the Dark Side of the Rainbow version, which is the Pink Floyd version for where they play Dark Side of the Moon to Wizard of Oz, which is a whole thing. You can Google it. But Wizard of Oz, I don't know. Although if you think they've really got flying monkeys in this theater, that might be well worth the cost of admission.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to report, and I've scheduled myself to see like the fourth or fifth showing, or fourth or fifth day that they're doing it. They're premiering it. In fact, while you're watching this, I'm there. So, or probably while I'm premiering it, you're there. I'm there. So I will let everybody know what it's like, and I'm hoping, I'm wishing that it's going to be a great experience. So that's one of the key things that I'm doing today.
Well, if you wish really hard, you should click your heels together.
Exactly.
Yes.
Ruby slippers. I'll have a T-shirt next time I do the show with the sphere. They have a T-shirt that I bought, which is the it looks like a snow globe, the sphere, with the legs coming out of the Wicked Witch that was killed. So anyway, so then I'm off to CEDIA, which is a show that we both did last year, CEDIA Commercial Integrator Expo. I'm going on my and myself this year, we're going to be doing some, again, examination of what's going on with AI in the industry. And I'm going to have a follow-up conversation. I'll probably have it on next week's show as well, with David Martin and Nancy Knowlton, the founders of Nareva, who we spoke with at Infocom. I want to get an update on what they're doing with their HDX. And they've also, I believe, I'm going to get this right when I talk to them, they've started a new business where they're taking some of what they did with Smart and applying it to the construction industry. So I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know about it yet, but I'm definitely going to interview them, and that'll be so that's just next week of what's going on. Now, what are you going to be doing next week while I'm doing
Well,
that?
I gotta say the CEDIA show, as you mentioned, we were there last year. Really interesting event, and your perspective and background is more on the video side. My perspective and background is more on the UC side. And I was really surprised. So you have to carry my torch for me since I won't be there this year at the CEDIA show. But the CEDIA show, every problem was solved with video, and I thought it was really interesting. Because I'm so used to going to events where we talk about, let's say, work from home and return to office, and these conversations have to do with all kinds of ways of collaborating and messaging and communicating. But at CEDIA, it always just goes right down to the video experience and the meeting experience. So you've got to carry my torch. You've got to keep on bringing this conversation a little broader and help people understand that there's more to these conversations than video.
I will do that. And also, Crestron's making a whole bunch of announcements in terms of the residential space. So I'll try and grab some of that as well. So while I'm there, you're going to be at a flea market, right? Some company that starts with a V just got bought, right? And you're going to go visit them?
Yeah, actually, I think we're about a week off because I got the first week of September kind of preparing still for the rest of September. Okay, so people know that analysts travel quite a bit. What they don't quite appreciate or understand is it's all like in 2 months of the year. So this year in September, I think there's something like 14 events going on in September. Obviously, not going to all of them, but it's a jam-packed event. I'm kind of glad I'm not going to all of them. I've got an excuse. I'm booked already. But there's actually nothing. I have nothing that first week, and so you're going to have to, you're going to have to do all the reporting on that Wizard of Oz thing on your own. But the Verint is Engage is happening, and I was actually really looking forward to Verint Engage when they announced it. I signed up right away. I really enjoy Verint. I really enjoy Dan Bodner, the CEO, and I think they're doing some amazing stuff. And Verint is this amazing company because they've gone through, it's still founder run, right? And they're what, I don't know how old they are, 30, 40-year-old company. And so they've gone through a lot of amazing transitions. There's one other company that comes to mind we've talked about before is Audio Codes, very similar, still founder run, a lot of transition of business. That's the nature of our industry. And so we know that almost every business goes through some sort of transition, but what usually it's new management that comes in and does that transition. And so it's kind of neat and rare when the founder is still there. And so Verint started off as a recording company, then became a workforce automation company, and is now really pivoting into this AI space and really interesting the way what they're doing. So always look forward to Engage. I've been there before. It should be a fantastic event, and so that's in Orlando this year.
But weren't they just acquired? Wasn't that some breaking
Yes,
news?
and so yes, thank you for bringing me back to that. So yes, they were just acquired by Thoma Bravo, and so that's going to add a whole new dimension of conversation. It's been rumored for a while, and I've been getting questions about it for a while. And basically, it's something I can say, right? It's like if I was briefed on it, it would be confidential, and if I wasn't briefed on it, it's rumor, and there's nothing to say. And so there's just not a whole lot to say. But Thoma Bravo came through and delivered on the rumor. They actually acquired them. What's interesting about this is that Thoma Bravo has already acquired two other of these workforce optimization companies. So they're doing a WFO roll up, and it's kind of interesting. I've got some stuff in the insider report coming up here. As people know, the August Insider Report publishes the first week of September. And so we're just wrapping this up now. And I've got some stronger opinions on what's going on there. But bottom line is it's an interesting roll up. And I think we're going to see some significant changes that affects the whole industry in many ways. I don't think people quite catching that. So I'll leave that for our subscribers.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting your insights on that one. It's interesting. You and I, we're sort of like opposite sine waves here. We've now done this thing, and then, I'm while you're doing that, I'm going to be at a quick Lenovo road show where I hear there may be some announcements around Lenovo and Jabra, and we'll come back with that. And there's also the IBC show, the International Broadcast Conference in Amsterdam, which I'm not going to, but I'll be chatting with a couple of people that are there. And then we converge again, right, in San
Well,
Jose
and
for
so yeah,
NEAT.
convergence is our favorite word in this space, but yeah, so we're gonna converge next week. But what you're hitting on there is what I just touched on is that all these events are at the same time. It's basically spring and fall, and so spring gets really busy and fall gets really busy, and like August I had no travel, but spring and fall get really busy, and the trick for us is to attend as many events as possible, and that means a lot of virtual stuff. So I'll be covering not only in this recording that we're having right now. I'm going to be covering a lot of events that I'm not going to be at, and I think you are too. But one event we're going to be at together, and I'm really looking forward to it actually, because I didn't get to go last year. Is NEAT and last year they did it in Oslo, and I couldn't go because I had a conflict. You went, and I think you had a great time, and I was very jealous of that. And so I didn't want to miss it this year, and I almost had to. In fact, I told him I wasn't going to be able to make it, and I was really sad about that, but ended up changing things around, and I'm going to be there, and I'm so looking forward to it. They're having a good time, and I'll just tell you right now, I thought NEAT was going to be the first to go. When I heard that HP was going to acquire Poly, I thought, oh no, poor little NEAT. They don't have a diversified portfolio. They're small. They're not going to stand a chance against this. What do you do when a company like HP moves into your space? It's like it's going to get ugly. And I was actually really worried about NEAT because I really like those folks. And lo and behold, HP screwed everything up. It's completely destroyed Poly, in my opinion. And lo and behold, NEAT's having a great time. So fantastic.
Yeah, when we were with them in Oslo, with Janine, with their CEO and the rest of their executive leadership, they had a great vision. They talked about their financials that were doing really well, and they talked about where they wanted to go and how they want to do it. And they've been executing on that vision really well. I'm very impressed with how Janine is putting the company together.
Yeah, so
and
Janine's
what's going on
this is
there.
what, her second, third year maybe as
Must be
CEO. I
third,
guess
yeah.
and so she came from Zoom, so we've known her for a long time. She was a CMO at Zoom, and now we had a great conversation with Tormod Ree, who is now the Chief Product Officer at NEAT. I haven't met him in person. I don't know if you have or not, but
Years ago.
what's that you?
Years ago, I met with him.
Oh, years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
But this guy is like, Mr. Video, right? And he's been around the video industry for a long time. 7 years at Cisco alone, and that's just like a drop on his resume. So I think it's a pretty big hire to have him there. So I'm assuming he's going to be in San Jose. I know he lives in Norway, where all the video pros live.
Well,
And
it's interesting. He's going to need to, and Janine's going to need to navigate some very difficult waters because they're one of the companies that has not adopted MDEP. And their engineering is fantastic. They want to bring out some new products, and Microsoft has said, all the new products have to be on MDEP, or we're not
yeah,
certifying them.
Dave, you don't even need to go to the event. I'll tell you how the story is going to end. NEAT's going to be supporting MDEP in no time at all. That's just the way. Welcome to being a Microsoft partner. Yes, sir, may have another is I think the appropriate thing you say after they hit you with the
Well,
paddle.
it's going to be interesting to have that conversation with them in San Jose and see how things are going. And then again, we separate and do some other separate things. I know I've got a Sennheiser event that I need to go to, but then we're coming back together at the end of the month, right?
Well,
So
hold
where are
on,
you going
hold
to be?
on. Let's
Go ahead. You got
let's
more.
talk about.
You got
We gotta
more.
go in chronological order here.
Go, go,
So we're
go.
going after NEAT.
Well, I just have a New York event. It's Sennheiser's 80th birthday. And
Oh,
then and then
excellent.
and then we're meeting in San Diego. So you finished the month of September. You
Okay,
got more
so
stuff going on.
again, this was a change in schedule, but 5.9 is having their event, their analyst event. They did this. I'm going to say about a year and a half ago in Cabo in Mexico, and I actually declined this event. They invited me, and I declined it. I was going to go to the another event, Alianza event, which is that same week. And the reason I declined it, quite honestly, is because I kind of feel like I know Five9, and I've been in touch with them, and I feel like I know their portfolio pretty
But
well.
are they
And
are they
Allianz,
still 5.9 or is it like 4 or 3 nines? I mean, they've gotten rid of a
no,
bunch of
no,
nines there
they're
lately.
still Five9, and that's not their issue. Their issue is so what changed is they've had a number of leadership changes,
Right.
and they've even announced that the CEO Mike Birkland, even he's going to be leaving. So this will be his last event. Well, if everything goes the way he's planning. So he's going to be leaving. They just changed. They just changed three other executives. And so all of a sudden, my logic of they're not I'm up to speed. I know everything's going on with Five9. All of a sudden, everything changed, and so and at least last year they were a leader in the Magic Quadrant for CCAS. The new report's about to come out and be interesting to see. They were right on the boundary last year. Kind of like I called it in my report. I called it a warning shot off the bow. But I think they've had a pretty good year. So it'll be interesting to see what Gartner does with the new MQ when it comes out. But so there's a lot of stuff going on there. I'm anxious to meet the new team that's kind of forming, and I want to see Mike before he disappears. I didn't get to say goodbye to the CFO, for example, when he left. He recently retired. So I'm really looking forward to the Five9 event, and I'm really sorry about the Allianz event that I can't make, but Alianza is having their big event in Salt Lake City. It's the first time they're having an analyst, or actually, it's a broader event for their partners. And it's the first time they're having an event since they've acquired Metaswitch. So it's going to have all these Metaswitch partners are going to be there. It sounds like a great event. I was so looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. But what can I say? I was really looking forward to it. So I accepted their invite, declined Five9, and then I had to reverse it because I felt all of a sudden Five9, I had to go to that one. So
Yeah.
Allianz has agreed to give me a full detailed briefing before the event, and so hopefully I'll be up to speed, and all my tweets and posts going up will be accurate, and everything goes the way they plan it. And just to again convey how busy things are, Ribbon, which is a direct competitor to Alianza, they're having an event in Lisbon the same month that I cannot attend, and I can't attend the Crescendo event, which is another one of these players catering to service providers. Their event isn't until October, I don't think, but I won't be able to attend that one either. So
It's
just
interesting from the perspective of collaboration and communication that we advocate video and remote and conversations almost all the time as part of our living, but then we're always on a plane going one place or another, going to these events because
yeah, no,
honestly, you
and
get
Zoom just
more
had
out
their
of the
event, and
side conversations.
it's the worst with Zoom because they just had their event, and I had to tell people, yeah, I'm traveling to San Jose for a Zoom event. They're like, what? But yeah, and so, but we also know, and we preach this, that in-person meetings are effective and necessary for certain kinds of things, and that's
Right.
exactly what we preach, right? And these events are team building and getting everybody on the same page type events, and these are indeed worthwhile as in-person events. Now,
So
that's
it's interesting, we are then going to come together again for an in-person event about the leader in collaboration and what their collaboration focus is. And it's kind of a utopia of getting together and getting all these signed conversations, but it's going to be Webex One, which I find is really interesting. First of all, Webex One was a great event. You missed it last year. You missed the donuts. You're going to be back again this year. We're both going to be there, and we'll cover it. But you know what? Neither one of us mentioned Zoomtopia because it's all virtual. It's gone from this wonderful get together event and conversation and collaboration with everyone in the industry and weird twerking on stage at events that are taking place. It's now
yeah.
gone to this, I'm not even going to pay attention to it because it's just going to be all AI all the time. So
Yeah,
it's just
I wouldn't go that hard on Zoom, but I would say that the Zoomtopia type of event doesn't really bother me as a virtual event, and particularly as an analyst. I'm not going to Zoomtopia necessarily for the same type of thing I'm going to as for an analyst event. Uh, it's mostly going to be the keynotes that are going to stand out, and those work great on streaming, and they can reach many more people than they can, and it's much more cost effective. So I don't really mind
no,
Zoom, kind of practicing what they're preaching with Zoomtopia, and of
no,
course
and in
Zoom has
that
doubled
particular
down on,
case,
hold on. Zoom has doubled down on virtual events, right? So they have a
right.
whole virtual events practice, and they do it, and they use their own solution for their virtual event. So I think that one is okay.
In that
So, but
particular case, I disagree with you, and let me explain why. I'm going to go back to the pandemic, when CES was virtual one year,
yeah,
and we were told as analysts and industry media to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning on the first day of the show because we were going to get a presentation from one of the keynotes, and I forget which one it was. And we all got up and we were sitting by our computer with our coffee, and they played us a video. And
yeah.
frankly, if there is no ability for me to ask a question or interact with anybody, maybe the information's important, but you know what? I'll feed it into my AI or I'll watch it on my own time.
Yeah, have
I'm
your
not
AI call
getting
my AI. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not getting together for an
You're hitting on a
event.
really important point, David. And I felt this very much at Enterprise Connect because I felt a lot of those keynotes, and I actually wrote them down how many of videos were in those keynotes. So those keynotes are exactly 30 minutes. And one of the vendors, I won't call any names out here, had like 6 videos in their keynote. And it really pisses me off. I came here for a live in-person event, and you're playing me videos. That pisses me off. But the flip side of that is if that's what they're going to show, then do it on a virtual event. That then
Yeah,
at least
do it
it's
on a
free.
virtual event, but don't expect me to go. I'll
Well,
look at it
well,
after the fact.
whether you go or not, it's up to you. But the point is, there's no value in going in person if it's going to be
Right.
if there's no interaction. And so there's
That's
a
the
lot
key.
of events, and quite frankly, there's a lot of events I purposely miss because I prefer to play them back at twice the speed, and I want to take closer notes, and I want to grab screenshots. It's sometimes easier to watch the recording. And so it really boils down to how much interaction and benefit there is to a live event. And so at an analyst event, there tends to be very high amount of interaction, and so those I really value. But a lot of these other events, you're fine doing it on demand, and in fact, maybe better. And travel's a pain, and so people always
Mhm.
think that travel is some sort of perk or benefit. Those days are
Well,
long gone. So
we are coming together at the end of the month at Webex One, which we should talk about for a little bit. But I want to tell the story that at Webex One, I met with a guy who I used to work with, who had just joined Audio Codes, and we had a really good conversation about what Audio Codes is doing. I learned some things. He learned some things about what we do, and we've been doing some really good stuff with Audio Codes this year from that side conversation that never would have happened at a virtual event. And I gave you 5 or 6 or 7 more other examples. So that get together is really important in the industry, and that's what we're going to
yeah,
experience
but
again at
again,
WebEx One.
flip that around, and I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. The best, most valuable part of an in-person event is indeed the networking. But from a Cisco perspective, you talking to audio codes isn't what they're funding. That's not their goal. So they got nothing out of that. And so my point is that you really have to think through what your objectives are, not only when you're hosting an event, but and whether it should be physical or virtual. But also whether or not to attend it or not. And a lot of these events, it's very difficult to network. I mean, the bigger the event, quite honestly, the harder it is to network. And
Yeah, but
so,
I'll give you the flip side of that flip side, which is if an event is coming together that's going to bring together multiple people from the industry, fellow analysts, fellow vendors, the entire their mini trade show floor with all of their partners, it's going to be more valuable to me. I certainly look at it as a more substantial event than somebody doing something online. It's probably more worth my time to make the time to be there because I want to
yeah.
run into all of
And,
those
and so
people.
Enterprise Connect's a great example for a lot of us, people like you and me. Enterprise Connect's a very valuable, productive week, and we get to meet a lot of people and see a lot of things. The biggest complaint about Enterprise Connect is there's not enough end users there. It doesn't bother me. That's not my problem.
It
But
bothers the
and so
vendors, yes.
yeah, and so you really have to kind of think about what the objectives are of the event and then what your personal objectives are. But anyway, on WebEx One, I'm really looking forward to it because, as you pointed out, thanks for reminding everybody. I did miss it last year. I've never missed a WebEx One. It used to be, Cisco Forum or something like that. I forget what they used to call it. But I used to go to all these events, and I've never missed one. But we had a conflict last year, and a number of us missed it. And so I really prioritized WebEx One. I wanted to be sure to be there, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a good event. Now we have not been briefed yet, and I have no idea what's officially going to happen. But do you have any predictions?
Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to look at what Cisco is doing. They're now arguably the leader in interoperability on their hardware, which is what I pay attention to, and they're moving everything over to IP-based systems that don't, PoE that don't require anything more complicated. I'm going to be very interested in hearing where they're going with their roadmap, but I think it's all going to go in that direction. They are, they are reemerging as the leader in the industry. It's really, really interesting to watch the progression and see where it's
Not
gone.
only is, well, put a few more words around that. They're becoming the most interoperable hardware in the industry, which is just like, hello, where did that go? I mean,
Yeah,
that's not the Cisco we knew 10 years ago, right? So
yeah.
it really, again, going back to what I said earlier about pivots, so they've really made a strong pivot to be the most interoperable platform, which was not what they were known for before. But you touched on AV over IP. And that acronym really bothers me because I always see, as a VoIP guy, obviously a VoIP, but it's AV over IP, so it's spelled a VoIP. And Yes, so I definitely expect some device hardware to be coming out. I don't, and so some new interoperable device hardware that is indeed completely configurable, empowered, and managed over IP. So I expect that. Don't know what it's going to be. I also expect a slew of contact center announcements because this is obviously an area that not only are they focused on, but they did share with us and recently some of their results, and they're getting traction. And so I think we're going to see a lot of announcements around contact center.
Okay. So before we leave September, there were a bunch of other events that you are not attending that you had mentioned to me that you might want to like list of things that you're keeping on your
Yeah,
radar.
so there's actually one more event kind of in September, kind of not. It's on the border. It's Amazon Connect Horizons in London. And so some of us are going to be going directly from San Diego or Webex One to London to catch this Amazon Connect. This will be my second Amazon Connect event this year. The first one was in New York just 2 months ago, I think in July. That was really an Amazon event, AWS event. Not this one's going to be more focused on Connect, and they had actually a Connect customer forum in London just in June, customer community event in June. So interesting that they're doing that. That Connect is now getting its own events, which is not exactly the AWS way of doing things, which is showing how important it is. But also interesting that they're doing them in Europe, and so I guess we have to kind of speculate wildly that maybe they're really focusing on Europe right now, which is interesting because um, uh, most companies go for.
Geopolitical issues right now are kind of off the charts.
Well, there's pros and cons to that as a business opportunity, but it's interesting that they're being pretty focused on that. So that goes into October. So I'm really looking forward to that event. It's going to be a pretty short event, and other events in September that you asked about, as I've already mentioned, Ribbon in Lisbon, which is just so frustrating. I can't make because I love going to Lisbon. I had a decline info BIP. They're having an event. It's called Shift. Shift, I think it's pronounced the bar. It's the name of the town it's in, which is not an easy town to get to. And I was looking forward to that. I'd agreed to go to that, but I ended up changing that one for I forget which event was at the same time, but I ended up changing that. But that's kind of like Twilio Signal. It's going to be a lot of developers there. It's going to be it looks like a really exciting show, and so that's happening. Sprinkler is having their event, Analyst event, the same week as Webex One. I mentioned I really prioritized Webex One because I missed it last year. I have attended Sprinkler's events in the past. They've been fantastic events. And of course, this will be the first one with their new CMO, Rory, who came from Vonage. And Sprinkler, of course, is just featured in the latest Magic Quadrant on conversational AI. They were in the Forrester Wave on CCAS. And so they're really getting some good recognition. And I'm really very disappointed I can't make that event. CPAS Alliance, I attended their event 2 years ago in Amsterdam. I can't really quite figure out that group, to be honest. And they stopped inviting me, so who knows what they're up to. And then the other one that I'm really sorry I'm going to be missing is the DTX UC Expo in London. I think I've attended every one of those, and I really enjoy them. It's their version of Enterprise Connect at a micro scale, kind of like Legoland type of thing. But
Mhm.
but a good event, a very good event, and I've enjoyed it in the past. And I'm really sorry that this is the first year I'll be
Well, they
missing
have a
it.
new person running the show this year. I think Tanya used to do it, and she's not there this year. So be interesting to see what the reviews come back as for UCX.
Yeah.
And then as we
So
get to this point in the year, I start looking a little bit longer ahead. You know, we're probably days away from CES announcing their Innovation Award judges, and there should probably be some interesting names on that list. And I'm fingers crossed that I'm going to be on that for like a 10th or 11th time. I've lost track of it. You have NAB's New York version, which is sort of a smaller version of the broadcast world and what's going on with media at the Javits Center, which I will be at. You've got Microsoft Ignite coming up, you know, in November, which is going to be a pretty big deal. You know, their announcements have been barreling on through. Just look at the latest insider report if you subscribe. We've got, you know, Dave and I have been debating over the last 2 days how many announcements are we even putting in. There's so many. Which ones are we going to take a look at and deal with? The lighting and staging show comes up in December, LDI. Usually attend that one to see what's going on in the world because lighting and projection mapping and video are almost kind of the same thing now. So it's always interesting to see what's going on. And as I said, we're starting to gear up for CES. CES is going to be an awesome show this year. I'm a little worried, you know, based on where we are. We were talking about geopolitics before. The entire South Hall upper was all companies from China last year. And I'm not sure if they're going to show up or if they're going to be invited or if they're going to be allowed into the country if they come to the border. So I'm a little concerned about that, but I would like to see it. I think the construction at the Las Vegas Convention Center should be done or nearly done, just about them. The last time I was there, the whole facade was ripped open. So lots of things coming up toward the end of the year that I'm looking forward to, and of course the holidays too. But it's just going to be a very busy end of the year. What about for you, Dave?
well, the big one for me in October is the NICE contact center event, and so NICE is kind of, they're a leader in the contact center space, and they put on pretty. They want everyone to know that they're leaders. They put on pretty extravagant events, but that doesn't honestly excite me. I mean, people are always suspicious when I say that, but that doesn't really excite me. This year they're doing it in Vienna, but the what it, but that's not the point. What the point is that they put on the best events, and it's not necessarily because of where they do it and that. The first time they kind of did this format, they actually did it in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, 4 years ago, 3 4 years ago, and a ski resort in the fall is about the cheapest thing you can possibly do. You get a nice, beautiful hotel for bargain prices, but that's not the point, right? Because the point was they do such a good mixture. They bring their entire leadership team, everyone's available, and you get so much insight at their events. And so they just put on fantastic events. This is the first year that Scott, the CEO, is going to be there, the new CEO. Michelle, the new CMO, is going to be there. They recently acquired Cognigy, so I'm assuming the Cognigy team will be there. You never know about that because if the acquisition hasn't officially closed, I don't know if they'll be there or not. But the Cognigy team may or may not be there, but certainly changing their roadmap. And of course, I already mentioned earlier that the Magic Quadrant for CCAS is expected sometime in probably September, October. And I'm really curious to see because they've always had NICE and Genesis fairly close together. And I'm fairly certain we're going to see a bigger gap between those two companies this year. But I haven't seen it, so we don't know. So so what else was I going to say about that? I also can't attend. I will not be attending it's the exact same week as NICE is the CX Innovation in the EU conference. I've never been to that conference. I was looking forward to going this year, but I can't. It's that same week as NICE. And then you mentioned Ignite. Now, I don't feel too bad about missing Ignite. I haven't been to Ignite in a while, to be honest, but there was a while there where Teams was getting all the love. And it was even in the major keynote with Satya, and all the announcements were coming out at Ignite. But Teams has kind of become a stepchild at this point. Everything is really around Copilot, and I imagine the list of monthly announcements for Teams will be even longer than usual in October. Than like you said, every month they tend to have a bunch of announcements. but I don't think they're going to get a lot of attention other than a few breakout sessions at Ignite. So that's a great example of a conference I'd rather attend virtually. November, two events I'm looking forward to. Both TalkDesk and Wildix are going to be having analyst events. TalkDesk is they did an event last year for the first time in a few years. Did a fantastic event, learned so much, and TalkDesk is really doing some really interesting things. Can't wait to meet with that team again. And Wildix is a European company that is really on the move in the UC space, and they're doing a lot of really interesting things. And so I expect to be writing a lot more about Wildix, and looking forward to attending their events. I've never been. Actually, I've never received a proper briefing on Wildix. I've been to one of their events. It was a fairly informal event, but this will be my first analyst event, and I'm really looking forward to learning more and engaging with their leadership team. The last event of the year is almost always AWS reInvent in Vegas in the first week of December. I haven't gone for a few years. Like, they invited me. I declined it. I've already been to one AWS event in New York. I've got the one coming up in London, so I probably won't go to the one in reInvent. But you never know. If I turn out to be in the area, I'll see if I can swing by. But certainly Amazon is doing some very interesting things. So that's the year for me.
So I guess the bottom line is, if you run into Dave or I and ask us what's new in September, be prepared to sit down and listen for a while, because tons and tons of things that we're going to be covering and reporting on, some great events, some interesting breaking news, and understanding what the direction of the industry is. So
and if you're in a United Club at some airport, look for us.
Absolutely. Look, I'm going to be bouncing around the airports. I might even get a free upgrade this weekend. I'm looking at it because I'm taking the 6:30 flight. Nobody wants to go. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens. But anyway, Dave, thank you for being on here, and thank you for watching as you do every week. This was just our what's going on in the next couple of months update. For all of us at Talking Pointz, Dave and I, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.